I'm Cape Strawberry, and I'm here to teach you the basics of playing plastic guitars so you can get started with Pro and Fortnite Festival. Everything I cover here will help you play comfortably up to medium and lay the foundation for more advanced techniques needed for higher difficulties. Whether you're new to Pro or to Festival in general, chances are you're probably going to walk away having learned something new after watching. If you want to play Pro but don't have a guitar controller, I've got some good news for you. This is the Riffmaster from PDP, and it is the perfect guitar for anyone looking to get started with Pro and Festival. What's even better is that you can save 10% when you use promo code CAPESTRAWBERRY when shopping PDP, and this goes for Riffmasters and any other regular priced items, including Victrix products. You save money and you help support me. It's a win-win. If you're interested, there will be links below in the description. Alright, before we get into gameplay, there are a few important basics we need to cover first. The first is how to properly hold the guitar. While it may seem self-explanatory, there are some very important do's and don'ts that can make a big difference in the long run. We'll start with strumming. For your strumming hand, you want to keep your arm against the guitar, as that helps hold the guitar in place and keeps your hand by the strum bar. When strumming, you don't actually move your thumb. In fact, it's better to almost keep it limp. What you want to do is let your wrist do the work. That saves you from wearing your thumb out and helps you strum faster. There's a technique that lets you strum much faster, but I'll be covering that later. Do not grip the bottom of the guitar with your other fingers. This prevents you from strumming with your wrist and leads to the other issues I mentioned earlier, specifically wearing your thumb out. Now, what about the other hand? Proper hand positioning is one of the most important fundamentals of plastic guitar and can dramatically affect your performance. One of the most common questions people ask is where to put their fingers or how to hit the orange notes. While it may seem intuitive to put your index finger on green and your pinky on blue, this is actually a poor hand position because it is very difficult to stretch your pinky finger between blue and orange. Instead, shift your hand down so that your pinky is on orange and have your index finger move between green and red. I personally rest my index finger on red, but others prefer to rest it on green. While there are times where you may need to shift your hand around, the key takeaway is to keep your pinky on orange as a default hand position. Regardless of which position you use, it will take time for your fingers to build up the muscle memory of which fret is which color. If you are using a newer guitar, the yellow fret will have little bumps or ridges of some sort to help your fingers know where they are. However, if your guitar is well used, there's a good chance those bumps have been worn down. As far as the guitar neck itself, you want to have it rest in the palm of your hand. Use your thumb to hold the neck in place so that the neck doesn't move around and your fingers can focus on fretting. Now that we've gone over guitar basics, let's get into gameplay basics. I'm going to start by going over the bare basics. If you've played Festival, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, or anything like that before, it's probably safe to skip this section. Gameplay in Festival is very simple. The idea is to get as high of a score as you can, so you can earn stars and shoot up the leaderboard rankings. You do this by building up a note streak to increase your score multiplier. Your multiplier will increase by 1 for every 10 notes you hit, up to a max of ×4 on Pro Lead, and ×6 on Pro Bass. If you manage to finish a song without breaking combo, you earn what's called a full combo, also known as an FC, which makes your 100% all gold and shiny. Festival also has what are called perfects. If you're just starting out, don't worry about them too much for now. All you really need to know is that you can get some bonus points if you hit notes with extra precision, and this bonus also stacks with your score multiplier, overdrive included. Last but not least is calibration. This is a bit of a messy topic. All you really need to know is that if your audio isn't lining up with the notes, or you aren't landing perfect when you feel you really should be, chances are your calibration's off. To adjust it, simply talk to the stage tech or manually adjust it in settings. Calibration can also shift around a bit with each festival update, so it's good to check in on it every now and then, as it can make a huge difference. I highly recommend calibrating, as the default offsets typically don't work very well. Now, let's get into the differences between Standard and Pro. If you've ever used a plastic guitar before, it's probably safe to skip this section. If not,
there are some important differences between Standard and Pro that you should know about. The biggest difference with Pro is that pressing the frets does not count as a strike or hit notes on its own, with some exceptions that I'll get into another time. Instead, it's when the strum bar is pressed either up or down that it registers as a strike. To hit notes in Pro, you need to hold the correct frets down and press the strum bar when the note crosses the strike line. This is really important, as it means you can hold the fret buttons down in advance for an upcoming note instead of having to press them down for each individual note, such as when you have a bunch of green notes in a row, for example. Another difference is that lift notes don't exist on Pro. Pro does have its own unique note type, although that's a topic for another video. The third main difference is that activating overdrive on Pro does not auto-hit any notes. Lastly, Pro charts typically have more notes and aren't limited by standard controller configurations. The main reason for this is because it's much easier to hit a higher volume of notes with a guitar controller than with a standard controller or keyboard, while still keeping it fun for the majority of players. Now, let's get into the different note types. The first type of note is just your standard note. To hit it, simply hold down the fret of the matching color and press the strum bar once the note crosses the strike line. This is a chord. It functions the exact same as a standard note, only that you have to hold down 2 frets instead of just 1. They also have the benefit of being worth twice as many points. You'll see chords much more frequently on lead than on bass, simply due to guitarists typically using chords much more often than bassists. On higher difficulties, you'll even run into 3-note chords, although they function the exact same and are worth 3 times as many points. The next type of note is called a sustain. You play it the same as you would a regular note, except you keep holding the matching fret until the trail behind the note ends. Letting go of the fret early doesn't break your note streak, but it ends the sustain early, meaning you get less points. This is an overdrive note, and they can come in any of the forms mentioned earlier. They typically appear several at a time, and if you manage to hit all of them in a section without breaking combo, you get a quarter bar of overdrive. Outside of that, the notes themselves don't have any special properties and can be played just like their regular note versions. I'll get into overdrive in a bit, but first there's one last note type I need to mention. This is a hopo, which stands for hammer-on and pull-off. These notes have a special property that I won't be getting into at this time. That will be for a later video. They aren't common outside of higher difficulties, but all you need to know for now is that they exist, and you can play them like you would any other note type. Now, let's get back to overdrive. If you've played Festival before, you probably already know what overdrive is. If not, I'll explain anyways. Overdrive is a game mechanic that doubles your score multiplier for a short amount of time. To activate overdrive, simply tilt your guitar upwards, or press left on the guitar's D-pad. If you successfully hit an overdrive phrase while your bar is full, you will not collect it and it will be wasted. Overdrive is crucial for getting higher scores, so make sure to use it if you have it. You may notice that overdrive will drain quicker when active on some songs and slower on others. That's because the rate it drains is based on how many beats in the song have passed. One overdrive phrase will give you enough for 8 beats, and a full bar will last 32 beats. Before we finish, there's one last thing I want to touch on. So, you've probably seen the whammy bar on your guitar and wondered what that does in Festival. The answer? Absolutely nothing! In other plastic guitar rhythm games, you can whammy overdrive sustain notes for a bit more overdrive. While that may get added to Festival sometime down the road, it is not currently a feature at this time. And no, whammying sustains does not give you extra points. It does, however, make the sustain sound very goofy.
That should wrap things up. With everything we've covered in this video, you should now be armed with everything you need to know to get started with Pro in Festival. While the basics aren't exactly the most exciting, they're crucial for laying the foundation for more advanced techniques needed for higher difficulties later on. It's always easier to start with good habits than to have to correct bad habits later on. If you're looking for coverage on more advanced techniques, such as what anchoring is or how hopo notes work, I plan on covering those topics in a later video. If you found this guide helpful in any way, it would really mean a lot to me if you gave it a like and subscribe. Thank you, and until next time.